Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate. Heading back out to the Big 12 for a very intriguing matchup. The Kansas Jayhawks, coming off a massive win against the Oklahoma Sooners, head on the road to play an Iowa State team that, again, one of those teams that kind of just thought was dead in the water, losing to Ohio in out-of-conference play. And Matt Campbell, 4 out of their last 5, 3 straight wins. This offense is suddenly showing some life, and they're playing some great defense in the back end. Two programs that I'm a massive two programs and 2 head coaches, quite frankly, that I'm massive fans of. And what Coach Leipold has done at Kansas, extremely impressive. And the sustained success that Coach Matt Campbell has had at Iowa State, 2 head coaches that do more with less than about any other head coaches you see across the country. Big time matchup here. Iowa State 4-1 in conference play. Kansas sitting at 6-2, a top 25 team. Before we get into it, again, just want to say thank you to you guys. The amount of support for these game breakdowns truly does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Picks, predictions, keys to the game. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I got to start with probably the best units on the field. This Kansas offense going up against an Iowa State defense that has been phenomenal the last couple games. Kansas on offense, it's no secret what they want to do. They want to run the football. Now, the secret is how they run the football. They can run the football and attack teams in so many different ways, right? You have arguably 2 of the best running backs in the country, Devin Neal being a guy that I think truly is a special running back. And then you have Jason Bean at the quarterback spot, who also can get it done with his athleticism as well. This is a team that runs the ball 60% of the time for 5.5 yards per carry. That's a top 10 mark in the country. But what makes this Kansas offense so special is how multiple they can be. Like, you see a lot of different looks, a lot of different formations, and a lot of different schemes, and they get after teams in so many different ways. This Kansas team wants to play in space. You get these running backs in space making people miss. That's when this Kansas team's at their best. I don't think there's a better running back in the country to do so than Devin Neal. On top of that, though, I think Kansas does a really good job marrying, hey, we're going to have a lot of success running the football, but we're not going to throw that much. But when we do throw, we're going to hit some explosive plays. You take a look at the metrics. I mean, they're completing 64% of their balls. That's top 40 in the country for 9 yards per pass. That's top 20. So although they don't throw that much, they can hit the explosive play through the air. They give you a lot of eye candy with a lot of different motions and looks, and then they're going to work the ball vertically. And Jason Bean, although struggles at times throwing the football from the pocket, can make some really impressive throws and hit those explosive plays. This Kansas offense, I've said it before, many Kansas fans know this is my favorite offense to watch in college football, just with the different schematics they use to attack defenses. You look at this Iowa State defense, though, has been absolutely phenomenal, right? Only 21.3 points per game allowed. That's 30th in the country. Only 4.8 yards per play. That's a top 25 mark. In the back end, that's where Iowa State's the best. You look at some of these secondary numbers, and TJ Tampa, I think a legit first-round NFL draft pick, has been phenomenal this year. This secondary as a whole, a 55% completion percentage given up. That's number 15 in the country for only 5.9 yards per pass. So one of these matchups that you're looking at is Kansas, although don't throw the ball that often, like to hit the explosive play. This Iowa State secondary does not give up many deep passes. Again, 5.9 yards per pass attempt, top 10 in the country. If you're Kansas, you're looking at this Iowa State defense, and although there's not many holes, maybe one hole is in the run game. This is a defense that allows 3.9 yards per carry. That's 48th in the country. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's probably the hole in this group because the secondary is certainly not the hole. And what I'm looking at for Kansas is, can you get this Iowa State defense in space? Because that's probably where you have the advantage from a personnel standpoint, right? Devin Neal, Highshaw getting in space, making people miss is probably where you want to attack this Iowa State team. And Kansas has done a really good job scheming these running backs and giving them opportunities to make things happen one-on-one in space. That's what you're looking for this Saturday. Now, flipping the sides, Iowa State's offense, really bad start to the year where they just didn't have an idea. They wanted to run the football. They could not run the football. I feel like watching back some Iowa State games, Coach Campbell and this offensive staff are I think their first couple of games, they was like, we don't want to lose the game on offense. We're going to be really conservative. We're going to put punt is okay, and we're going to rely on this defense. The last couple of games, it seems like they've just kind of said, hey, we're going to go out and try to win some games on offense as our Rocco Becht has looked a lot better down the stretch. Again, this is a team that beat Oklahoma State, that's won 3 straight, and the offense is looking a lot more explosive, right? Higgins and Jalen Noel on the outside making some plays. Although this Iowa State offense is not an elite group, I think it's getting better, and they're going to have an opportunity to go to against the Kansas defense that is not great. And I think Coach Leipold has done a phenomenal job revamping this defense. Last year, it was a very similar story. Very good offense, but a very bad defense. And the defense just really could not get a stop. You're seeing meaningful improvements from this Kansas State defense. That being said, it's still gettable, right? I like Austin Booker. I like some of the guys in the back end, but they do let people run the football on them. They give up some explosive plays. One thing I've really liked from Kansas is forcing turnovers. I mean, this is a team that forced 3 turnovers, was probably the story of the game. One was a pick 6 against Dillon Gabriel. If you're Kansas, you don't want to give up the big play. You want to make everything difficult for Iowa State. And if you can force some turnovers, that's probably what you're looking for if you're the Kansas Jayhawks. Getting to the pick here, and this is an interesting pick, but I feel like I do have a side here, and I think I'm going to take Kansas with the points here. Iowa State 2.5-point favorites at home. That really isn't a disrespect to this Iowa State program. I'm just really high on what this Kansas team can do, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And when you kind of simplify this matchup, you look at two teams. You got Iowa State and Kansas. You look at their offenses. What offense do you trust to put more points up on the board? I'm going to take this Kansas offense. I think Jason Bean, although had some ugly throws against Oklahoma, is continuing to have that confidence being that playmaker for this Kansas offense. So I'm going to rock with Kansas. But if Iowa State can win this game and all of a sudden get to 5-1 in conference play, like this is a team that it's not, and I might be falling for the flashy Kansas offense versus an Iowa State team that just is really tough. This is going to be a really good one. Again, Iowa State, it's not always pretty, but they've been getting the job done. That's kind of been Coach Campbell's MO. Again, 2 of my favorite head coaches in the country, always seeming to do more with less. 2 really well-run programs, really well-coached programs. It's going to be a fun one. I'm going to ride with the Kansas Jayhawks here, but this one is going to be on one of the main TVs because I am very excited for this matchup. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.